Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my Rico character guide. If you are just here for a quick reference, I've created a pocket guide for the beginning of the video. Rico's trait is Most Formidable Boss Rico. She possesses block and jump as well as immunity to frosty tiles. Notably, Rico is the first defender available to us that possesses jump. She gains a passive increase to her physical attack and HP. After being actively attacked, she will recover HP equal to 50% of her physical attack if injured. This can be triggered twice per round. Rico will gain 6 stacks of Fur Rage at the start of battle, 2 stacks when attacked, and 2 stacks at the end of her turn. Fur Rage is a buff that increases Rico's crit and crit damage by 3% up to 8 stacks. At 8 stacks of Fur Rage, Rico will gain the additional skill Dragon Roar. Dragon Roar is an instant skill, with Rico jumping to a target location within 1 to 3 tiles and dealing AoE damage within 2 tiles of the target location. The skill multiplier decreases by 10% for each additional target hit to a minimum of 80%. At star level 5, this ability has 100% crit and 20% increase skill multiplier when attacking. After attacking, enemies are inflicted with vulnerable 2, and for any enemies dying, they will be stunned. After casting, Rico will lose all Fur Rage stacks and gain damage reduction 2 and Be Serious. Be Serious is a buff that increases Rico's crit by 100% and crit damage by 30% for her next attack and is removed after triggering. Rico will also gain Quiet Mode, putting Fur Rage on cooldown for 2 turns. After Quiet Mode ends, Rico will gain 4 stacks of Fur Rage. Here's a table detailing Rico's gains at each star level. She has some notable gains at star level 4 and star level 5. Her initial skill is Knockback Bash. This is a 3 energy cost, 0 turn cooldown skill that will be succeeded by other abilities in Rico's skill tree. However, this is Rico's top damaging skill for single target. At rank 1, I recommend Charge Pursuit. Charge Pursuit is an instant skill that offers minor damage and some mobility. This is the same skill we are familiar with from other units such as Leonide, Rayshaw, and Stormbreaker. With Warrior of Frost, Rico has increased movement and damage mitigation when on frosty tiles. However, Rico herself cannot create any frosty tiles, so effectively using this passive is both team and map dependent. Long term, neither skill will be a regular part of Rico's skill loadout. Charge Pursuit is recommended here primarily for the HP stat increase. At rank 3, I recommend Hammer Smash. Hammer Smash is a single target skill that deals AoE damage against a specified target, knocking them back by 4 tiles or dealing increased damage if the target has knockback immunity. Rico then performs Pursuit, dealing additional AoE damage to all enemies in a cross-shaped range of 2 tiles of the enemy target, as well as dispel 2 buffs. When Rico has the Be Serious buff, all skill multipliers of this skill increase by 10% and inflicts stun. Milk Power Boost is an instant skill that heals Rico, grants 2 stacks of Damage Lock, defends 2 buffs, and 2 stacks of Fur Rage. Damage Lock is a buff where damage taken from a single attack cannot exceed a percentage of Rico's HP, and this buff would be the primary usage of this skill. While Damage Lock may not see use in general play, it can be a very valuable buff against challenging content. At rank 5, I recommend Never Give Up. Never Give Up reduces melee damage taken by 15%. Rico will also possess Unyielding, a cheat death effect. When Unyielding is triggered, Rico will recover all energy, remove Quiet Mode, gain 8 stacks of Fur Rage, and a Speed 4 buff. A Speed 4 buff puts Rico's speed at 420 for 1 turn, and instantly gaining 8 stacks of Fur Rage allows her to cast Dragon Roar for damage, mobility, and crowd control. First Strike is a preempt reaction skill, which you may consider if you decide to play a Counterattack build. If paired with her No Escape basic attack, the Knockback can effectively interrupt an enemy's attack. At rank 7, I recommend Hammer Time. With Hammer Time, both skills inflict a physical defense 2 debuff and blocks healing received on enemies hit. Mountain Toppling Slap deals 70% AoE damage in a 3x4 area in the target direction, knocking back the first enemy in each column by 1 tile. The skill multiplier is increased by 20% against targets with knockback immunity. When having the Be Serious buff, the skill multiplier increases by 15% as well. Earth-Shattering Tornado deals 65% AoE damage to enemies within 3 tiles of Rico, knocking back the first enemy in a cross-shaped range of 2 tiles by 2 tiles. When having the Be Serious buff, enemies are knocked back an additional tile and will also receive a Move 1 debuff. Try to Make Me Mad is a non-instant skill that grants Rico 2 stacks of Fur Rage, as well as Attack 2 and Crit Damage 1 buffs. She will also perform Roar Fury until the start of the next 2 turns. Roar Fury is a buff that gives Rico 100% block chance and further reduced damage when blocking. After Rico is actively attacked, she will strike back, dealing AoE damage within a 1-tile radius of the target. This can trigger twice per round. Rico will also gain 1 additional stack of Fur Rage after being attacked. If you decide to play a counterattack build, you may consider learning this skill. At rank 9, I recommend No Escape. No Escape is Rico's unique basic attack, dealing 70% AoE physical damage and knocks back her primary target by 2 tiles. While this deals less damage than a basic attack on a single target, this is recommended to be consistent with Rico's AoE output and for the knockback utility. In scenarios where single target damage may be more valuable, you can still revert back to her initial skill. At rank 11, I recommend Crackling Sparks with Castalia for World's My Oyster. With Crackling Sparks, Rico gains 2 stacks of Fur Rage when casting a class skill attack. When dealing collision damage, Rico will deal additional AoE damage equal to 25% of her physical attack to all enemies within a 1-tile radius of the colliding targets. Against targets with knockback immunity, Rico has 15% increased attack and will inflict Defense 2 debuffs before attacking. World's My Oyster is a new Drifter's Leader's aura. In addition to the standard attribute increases, the damage dealt of active attacks and strikebacks increase by 5% for each target hit, up to 15%. Against injured targets, crit and crit damage also increase by 10%. This build focuses on actively dealing damage, casting whichever appropriate Hammer Time skill as energy is available, or her basic attack otherwise. This build focuses on counterattacks or off-turn damage. Cast Try to Make Me Mad every 2 turns to maintain 100% uptime on Roar Fury, and her basic attack otherwise. Rico's Astral Imprint is Hammer Dragon Rise. When casting AoE attacks and triggering strikebacks or preempts, physical damage dealt increases by 10% for each target hit up to 30%. Strikebacks and preempts have 1 additional trigger, and users of this weapon will also have 15% lifesteal. This complements Rico's overall skill kit well for both her active damage and counterattacks. Magnus is also worthwhile to consider equipping with this weapon, with his Mighty Swing, Bloodthirsty Axe, and Sharpened Blade skills. For weapon recommendations, other than Hammer Dragon Rise, Tuning Hammer is always a fine, consistent option for the physical attack increase and added dispel utility. Not pictured here, in scenarios where knockbacks are more valuable than dealing damage, Denial Hammer is reasonable to consider. Denial Hammer can also help with triggering Crackling Sparks more often. For trinket recommendations, as usual, the attribute increases from Shield of Justice and Origin Hourglass are always reliable if these are strongly at your disposal. Rico can be built to have strong self-sustain between her trait, Astral Imprint, and other abilities. As such, it is reasonable to consider Maverick's Cloak and play Rico relatively independently from the rest of the party. Finally, consider Crystal Burst Armor if you are playing Rico with a counterattack build. For tarot recommendations, Dream of the Magician is a good option to increase Rico's overall damage. Verdict of Justice is worthwhile to consider for the crit and crit damage increases as well. When building for counterattack, Destruction of the Tower is good to empower her out-of-turn damage. Consider avoiding the lifesteal hidden effect in favor of a physical attack rule. On any maps with high target count, ranging from allies, enemies, summons, and NPCs, it is always reasonable to consider Temptation of the Devil. For engravings, Sword and Wand remains the best option for the attack and defense increases after moving. To provide some composition and usage tips, similar to other units who possess a secondary resource through their traits, cast Dragon Roar as available to spend and avoid overcapping Fur Rage stacks. Rico brings a flavorful Drifter Leader's aura to overpower or pair with Miguel's World Drifter. Consider building a team with other Drifters or pairing Rico with Nona for her Aggression aura. For a quick overview of external category buffs, Miguel's Wool Drifter gives 5% more attack and 10% more defense than the average leader's aura. Nonuel's Aggression aura is great to increase Rico's skill damage as well. That concludes this character guide. If you have any feedback to share with me, please leave a comment below. I'm open to listening and being wrong. I'm another player improving and learning more about Sword of Convallaria just like you are. Remember, if you find conflicting information to other guides or content creators, then that means there are multiple ways to build a character and still achieve success. Finally, my social media contacts are displayed here to connect with me as well. Last but not least, I want to credit and shout out these resources for helping me put together this character guide. Voyage Memento for character build samples and reference links, the No Potion fan site for skill images and skill descriptions, and the Billy Game site for character art assets. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.